The Tom Clancy gaming franchise has been cooking lately, with games like Rainbow Six Siege, The Division 2, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and now the new free-to-play XDefiant. Ubisoft has the potential to dominate the shooter genre without needing to beat Call of Duty, as much as people like to claim things as a COD killer. Ubisoft is actually in a winning position because their games cover multiple genres, but it's Ubisoft here, so there's a legit concern that none of this is going to work out, and at any given moment, it could be taken over by corporate greed. I mean, in the time alone that I've been working on this video, Ubisoft Forward happened, and they announced some pretty dumb things that made some players mad, and understandably so. So, Ubisoft being Ubisoft. But even before those announcements happened, I expected this video to be about the likelihood of Ubisoft ruining it all and why they were going to ruin it. But as I worked on this, I found that we actually have Ubisoft to thank for the reason these games are so good to play. These publishers make awful decisions sometimes, but then they let their developers make some great decisions. These games are succeeding because of Ubisoft's efforts, believe it or not. They're good games, and Ubisoft is taking care of them, for the most part. I'm just not sure how long the quality game development can remain in balance with the excessive corporate greed of Ubisoft. Let's take Rainbow Six Siege to start. Played by one of the #1 Twitch streamers, this game is getting big. It gets people to play the game when Jinxie plays the game. And like it or not, Jinxie has done a lot to preserve Rainbow Six. Once a player starts, it's easy to stick with Rainbow Six Siege because it's so unique. There's a reason that players like Shroud, for example, are having clear fun when they're playing it. It's a fun game in its uniqueness. I can't speak much to it personally because I've only played it for 1 hour and I couldn't even finish the tutorial, but the game is fun and I enjoy watching other people playing it, and I would like to get into it. It's just a mountain to get into. Anyway, the game has players like Jinxie putting in 10,000 hours.
How many days do you have on this game? Jinxie, how many days?
You want me to check right now? How do I check? Tell me how to check.
Yes, check right now. Go to home button, go to the controller icon, and go down to stats. How many days, bro? Just tell me.
5 seconds left.
Over 400 days into the game, not because it's a bad game, but because it's a game that's fun to play. It rewards repeat playing. It's primed to remain. But Rainbow Six Siege is almost 10 years old, and so Ubisoft is in a position where they have to be able to profit from the cultural relevance of an old game. And how do they do that? That's right, cosmetics. Complain all you want, but if you want to be able to play a game online in 2024, the publisher has got to be able to benefit from the live service. It's just the way it goes. One, because they've got to provide the live service, which requires money, but also for the live service to remain, they've got to be earning a profit from it. So Ubisoft has alpha packs and a battle pass and milks them for everything that they're worth in Rainbow Six Siege. And good for them. It allows us to keep playing Rainbow Six, and they earn money. That's how business goes. But then Ubisoft, being Ubisoft at Ubisoft Forward, that's a lot of Ubisoft, announces a new membership on top of a battle pass and alpha packs and other forms of monetization, a membership. Right back to the duality of Ubisoft devs, making the game work within the greed of Ubisoft publishing. It's a balance that's constantly going back and forth. Alpha packs are a clear form of monetization. The battle pass, a clear form of monetization. But people buy them because they want to. And now, with what they've become, Ubisoft lets you trade them on a new marketplace that came out at the same time as a membership, believe it or not. So again, we have game development matching the player base. The player base likes alpha packs and wants to be able to trade cosmetics, so game development makes you able to trade cosmetics. It's functioning within the monetization of the publisher. Ubisoft is making business decisions that will allow Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege to continue to live. And Rainbow benefits from the gameplay working within the functions of seasons and the way that operators work and all that. The game stays fresh, and Ubisoft makes money, perfectly balanced within the culture of publishing and development. But then, Ubisoft's add this membership that I mentioned, and it all goes out of balance because it's stupid. I mean, what can I do? Ubisoft is going to be Ubisoft. When they announced it, people literally booed. It's a bad idea. I can't defend them against themselves. I don't know, maybe the membership could actually work if the value was better, but looking into it, it's just dumb. It's Ubisoft testing how much money can they milk out of a live service, especially a game as popular and important as Rainbow Six. So they started there. So what do? The player watching this video, the consumer? Well, do not buy the membership. That's how you inform Ubisoft that the game publishing needs to work within game playing and game development. Ubisoft is only going to put more things behind a paywall if this membership works. If you really want to be influential in terms of your impact on Ubisoft, take it a step further and don't even buy alpha packs or the battle pass. Spend no money in Rainbow Six while the membership is a thing. Don't just make the membership fail, but make Ubisoft understand that they will have a decrease in revenue when they add something as dumb as a membership. However, keep that within an appropriate balance and within reality, within the structure of game publishing, game development, and a live service. Ubisoft has got to make the money from the games that we want to be able to play if we want to keep playing them. We want to play them the way we want. So let's show them, we'll reward them when they let us play the way we want, and their greed doesn't interfere too much. Let me give you another example in a great game, The Division 2. So another example of good and bad combinations here. It's in its 5th year, and despite it being a player versus environment looter shooter, it's still going strong, and that's all based in the game's endgame. Who provided that endgame that you can continue to play? Ubisoft. They offer seasons and allow the continuation of the game to go. Without Ubisoft, the game dies. And to be totally clear, I'm not talking about the online service. I'm just talking about the function of the game. Ubisoft doesn't provide content. The game falls apart and isn't fresh anymore. Now, I can't speak specifically about the end game of The Division 2. I've never even seen the beginning game of The Division 2 because I'm still playing The Division 1. Shout out to Bread for getting me into those games. But anyway, The Division 1. From Bread, the friend who got me into the game, he says the end game is the best part of the game and the reason that he sunk so many hours into it. In addition to many other numbers of players who are still playing The Division 2 despite it being 5 years old. I mean, just look at what Ubisoft did with The Division 1. That game was able to continually be successful specifically because of what Ubisoft did to take care of it and improve upon it post-launch. And they've done the same thing with The Division 2. According to all the YouTube videos I'm being recommended, The Division 2 is better now than it was at launch. I don't know, I haven't played either version, but that's what people are saying. Sadly, Ubisoft couldn't leave this alone either at Ubisoft Forward and had to announce something dumb in the introduction of the upcoming Year 6 Season 2.0, where new characters will be released. Your character resets. Now, for a looter shooter that's 5 years old, where players have been leveling up their gear and collecting higher levels of gears for 5 years, people aren't interested in starting over at level 0 with gear 0 and a brand new character. So, stupid decision, absolutely. But we'll have to see how it works. So, again, we have Ubisoft to thank for a good game, and now Ubisoft to blame for the potential ruining of it. So, I don't know. It's kind of messy. I don't know how it's going to go. But let me give you a different example that actually is more positive. It's been less messy than all the others. And that's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Now, so far, I've mostly pointed out Ubisoft's recent actions towards ruining the games based off their actions. Ghost Recon Breakpoint is actually how they've done a good job. Like, not just a good job, but a really good job. Now, I had never heard of this game before I started this video until I found down the rabbit hole and found it. But I now can say I love this game. There's a reason that I've sunk however many hours I have into it, which I don't know because Ubisoft Next doesn't tell you what. I mean, come on, Ubisoft. Tell me how long. Anyway, however, this game was not good at launch. I was not there, but I've been reading about it extensively, and people did not like the game when it came out. The game needed a lot of help. And for a game that's supposed to be a third-person open-world tactical shooter, it was pretty much a looter shooter at launch, and people hated it, especially coming from Wildlands. I haven't played a moment of Wildlands yet. I'm excited to get there, but nonetheless, the game was released by Ubisoft, and people were upset they didn't like it. But they listened to the player base, and they made some changes, significant changes, with a cool immersive mode, which is actually really amazing. It lets you completely dictate how you want the game to be played, if you like a more looter shooter with gear levels being important, or you want a more immersive mode, just a stealth-based tactical shooter. Both game modes work really well, and then you have tons of customization to go somewhere in the middle if you want. They added some great DLCs to expand the gameplay and have a longer endgame, and now the game is continually playable by a large number of people, and it's also just a huge game full of tons of content. I'm overwhelmed, and I don't even think I'll be able to finish the game because there's so much to do in it now, and it's actually fun to play. The dev team really cared about making this game work according to the ways that players wanted to play it, to the point where the dev team went and made content explaining the changes they made to the game and how you could get back into the game or get into the game for the first time using the changes that they made and how it made the game better.
Hey Ghosts! Ghost Recon Breakpoint released a bunch of content after the launch of the game all the way back in October of 2019. In this video, the game plan team will take you through our most noteworthy additions to Ghost Recon Breakpoint. The dev team was hard at work gathering player feedback.
That's pretty cool to me. They clearly care about people playing this better version of the game that they made. So, Ubisoft fumbled the start. Absolutely, we can blame them for that. And everyone claims it's nowhere near as good as Wildlands. But then the community makes their voice known. Ubisoft responds through good care and development. They listen to the feedback, and now it's a really good game that can easily be spent hours in because of the good content that's there. But so far, we've only talked about old games. Rainbow Six is almost 10 years old, The Division 2 is almost 6 years old, and Ghost Recon is almost 5 years old. Well, let me give you an example, and this technically isn't a Tom Clancy game, but it was called one in beta, and it's pretty much a Tom Clancy game. It's XDefiant. Now, it's the most recent game. It's just barely entering its first season after a pre-season, if you want to call that. It's a free-to-play, first-person battle arena shooter. As really cleverly joked by Jacob Wiebe, it's not pay-to-win, surprisingly. A free-to-play game from Ubisoft, and you can get most of the gameplay elements from playing the game. Yes, there are paid elements as it's a free-to-play game, but they're almost entirely cosmetic. Not entirely, they are entirely cosmetic. Yeah, you can unlock some game features through paying, but you can also unlock those same game features just by playing the game. It's free to play, and you get more of the game by playing the game. I have not touched Call of Duty in a long time, but I don't think I'm ever going anywhere near it because this feels so much more fresh, so much less spammy, and legitimately more fun. Of course, it's a free-to-play game, so it's going to need monetization to continue. That is how these games work. Ubisoft is planning that. They're pretty eager to have it be successful, and they've already planned out a year of content ready of seasons, and I think it's going to work based on how it's already going. Before we even got to the first season, in the pre-season, whatever they called it, Season 0, they updated the netcode, they added Team Deathmatch, they announced a new faction, and they really just listened to the player base to make the game better, and it's also just really fun. And now we have Season 1, and it was a great launch. It was a really smooth transition over, and reading the patch notes for Season 1, which the patch notes, normally boring to read, filled me with joy and excitement. As I read them, I legitimately laughed, and I was excited about what I was reading. I enjoyed reading it. It was fun to read. I felt like it was made by people. Both the patch notes and the changes being talked about in the patch notes were made by people who truly cared about and had enjoyment in what they were making. They care about people playing their game, and they care about how their game is played. And even with the new season, everything new is still unlockable with challenges. Yeah, of course, you can pay to get it early, but if you want to not pay and keep it free, you can do that. Everything is available through challenges. To me, it's like the perfect entry we needed in this game genre. It is fresher than Call of Duty, it doesn't have a battle royale, and it's free to play, and the paid aspects of it are not pay to win. I'm going to make a separate video about XDefiant because I think it's so great, but as a monetized game from Ubisoft that has to live on monetization, it's doing a really good job to not interfere with gameplay. I mean, even with the new faction that you can unlock early by paying instead of doing the challenge to unlock it. It's not game busting. Yeah, sure, it has new features, but it's not going to ruin the game if you don't have it. I'm extremely optimistic about XDefiant. And if we follow the track record of the previous games, I think I have reason to believe that this optimism can work out. Yes, Ubisoft is Ubisoft, and they make dumb decisions like adding a membership to Rainbow Six Siege. But at its core, they're doing a lot of things right. I think that they got to figure out the launch of their games a little bit better, but so far with XDefiant, I think they're doing a great job. And as they are launching it, they're continually listening to the people who play their game and letting the game function developmentally within the necessary requirements of Ubisoft game publishing. Who knows? Maybe XDefiant is going to come pay to win here in a minute, and everything I'll say will be ruined by the future of Ubisoft. But right now, the start isn't being fumbled, and it's a lot of fun, and it's also free to play. So, what does any of this matter? What does this have to do with you, the person watching, the gamer? Well, honestly, nothing. It's just games that I think are cool and I wanted to talk about because I think they're interesting within the aspects of Ubisoft. So if you like this type of content and you're interested in these games, then please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I'm excited to talk about these games more because they're fun to me. But truly, I think it does matter because we've learned this year, with the example of what happened with Helldivers and Sony, that we, the consumer, the gamers, have power with the way we play and interact with games and send our voice to publishers through the right means. Ubisoft has shown a keen interest in our money. We can give it to them, but let's make them earn it for good development and appropriate monetization within that development. I get it. Ubisoft gets a bad rap on the internet, and a lot of times they absolutely deserve it. But when it comes to their Tom Clancy games and XDefiant, the dev teams are really making an effort to work within the corporate greed of Ubisoft and game publishing to create games that players truly want to play. We can reward Ubisoft for their good work and not reward them and punish them for their ridiculous pricing. Believe in their potential for good and reward them when they get it right, and that will lead to them getting it right more. And we will continue to have good games to play that are fun. So, what can you do? Well, first, do not buy the Siege membership. Do not pre-order any gold editions with 3 days of early access for $60 extra, which is ridiculous. Spend money on cosmetics, but do not spend money on gameplay features. And be vocal about your experience. Leave reviews on Steam. Leave reviews on other people. Make videos about it if you want to. Ghost Recon Breakpoint is now one of my favorite games to play. Forever. And I have the community who was there at launch and was willing to make their voice heard to thank for the good game that I'm now enjoying, because they informed Ubisoft how it needed to get better. We have a history to prove that Ubisoft is listening, but we also have a history to prove that Ubisoft makes dumb decisions. So let's just hope they keep listening if we keep telling them when their decisions are dumb. So don't buy the membership for Rainbow Six Siege. Anyway, thank you for watching my first video. I do really appreciate it. Please subscribe if you want to see more of it. These are fun for me to make. I have a lot more to say about these games specifically, and a bunch of other games, and a bunch of things on the shelf that I would love to talk about. I just wanted to analyze Ubisoft's behavior for my first video. So anyway, let me know what your experiences is with these games or any other games you think that I should research or talk about the development and publishment of. I like researching games, and I like playing them. So anyway, I appreciate it. And remember, play what you want because games are fun.